Dams are a marvel of modern engineering, but they also pose a significant risk should anything go wrong. History is littered with examples of major dam failures that led to massive flooding and billions in repairs. Surprisingly, many of these failures were actually caught on camera. From a remote dam in Mongolia releasing 12 billion gallons of water downstream to a dire situation at the tallest dam in America, here are 5 massive dam failures that were caught on camera. On December 14, 1963, South Los Angeles was hit with a major crisis when the Baldwin Hills Dam suffered a catastrophic failure. Black and white footage taken from a helicopter was released showing the event as it unfolded. While it's not as clear as videos of the more modern dam failures on this list, you can clearly see the flooding. Some consider this to be the first time in American history that this sort of aerial coverage of a breaking news story was done. This is standard practice for news today, but it was highly novel for the time. The incident began around 11:15 a.m. on December 14, 1963. During a routine inspection, a caretaker noticed water draining from pipes beneath the membrane liner. After notifying an engineer of the odd occurrence, it was decided to begin lowering the reservoir's water level. I must give some credit to the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, because during this short time span, they made the decisions to evacuate approximately 1,600 residents downstream, even though there had not been any sort of failure at this point. This decision likely saved many lives. Despite efforts to clear the emergency discharge pipes, a section of the dam collapsed at 3:38 p.m. that same day. An hour later, the reservoir was nearly empty. The problem really began when the dam was first built. It was constructed right on top of an active fault line that was a subsidiary to the nearby Newport-Inglewood Fault. The underlying geologic strata were thought to be too unstable to put a reservoir on. The design used compacted soil lining, which was supposed to prevent water from getting into the foundation. During planning, this fault line was brought up, but ultimately it was decided that it wasn't significant enough to warrant a change of location. In hindsight, this was a fatal flaw. The Baldwin Hills disaster is considered to be highly influential in the world of civil engineering and is still studied today. On July 18, 2021, a remote area of Inner Mongolia experienced one of the largest dam failures in recent years, and it received very little media attention. Due to a prolonged period of heavy rain, a wave of water overtopped the Shinfa Dam, but little did they know, their problems were just beginning. A few moments later, the dam collapsed. It's surprising how little international coverage this received, especially when you consider just how much water was released, a whopping 46 million cubic meters worth. For reference, that's over 12 billion gallons of water. This caused serious flooding in the region. The dam was created to store water for irrigation and flood control. It had actually been repaired and reinforced just 5 years prior, but it still couldn't take the heavy rainfall. The area got 9 inches of rain the day it collapsed. Further upstream was the Yong'an Dam, which is also said to have collapsed just prior to this one. 16,500 residents were affected by the failure, and 53,800 acres of land were flooded. Bridges, buildings, and roads were destroyed. Luckily, there were no casualties due to timely evacuations. All things considered, it could have actually been much, much worse. Lake Dunlap Dam, which is near New Braunfels, Texas, experienced what's known as a spillgate failure in 2019. This caused a ton of water to suddenly head downstream, and the lake's water level dropped by nearly 10 feet over the course of just a few hours. The dam was about 91 years old when this happened. When the video starts off, it seems like any other day. A few seconds later, a huge portion of the wall collapses, allowing the lake to drain. This collapse led to the lake nearly being completely drained by the end of the day. Residents were told to reduce their water consumption even though the lake wasn't their only water source. The cause of the failure is blamed on simply aging structural steel. The Lake Dunlap Dam falling apart like this drew attention to all the other really old dams in Texas. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, 1,263 dams are at high risk in the state. There are 67 that are over 50 years old located within the same county as Lake Dunlap. The problem isn't just that they're degrading over time like everything does. The problem is that when these dams were built, safety codes were pretty different. So, something that might have seemed like a good and safe idea to an engineer in 1928 might not seem so safe to an engineer in 2021. Perhaps the worst part is that many of these dams also don't have any sort of plan in place for what to do if there's a failure. On August 17, 2009, the largest and one of the most powerful hydropower plants in Russia experienced a failure of epic proportions. Thanks to state CCTV cameras, we can see much of the disaster as it unfolded. At the start of the video, you can see where the disaster began. Turbine 2 suffered a catastrophic failure, and the machinery halls flooded in an instant. Around the same time, power at the main control panel fell to zero, and the entire area experienced a blackout. In the video, workers can be seen rushing out of the building, trying to get away from the dam as water began to flood the parking lot. With no power, the gate in the parking lot would not work, so it had to be manually raised to allow cars to leave. The accident was caused primarily by excessive turbine vibrations that led to the mountings for Turbine 2 to become damaged over time. It wore them down to the point where this catastrophic failure was possible. A later report also discovered that at the time of the accident, there were 6 nuts missing from the bolts that kept the turbine cover on. 49 recovered bolts were investigated afterwards and were found to have 41 fatigue-induced cracks. In the end, many workers lost their lives as a result of this tragic disaster, and 9 out of the 10 turbines were severely damaged or destroyed. This failure, which occurred in August of 2009, led to widespread power outages in Russia. In 2014, 5 years after the incident, repairs were completed at a cost of over $1 billion. California is a state that is not known for much rain. Every year, the state experiences large-scale wildfires for this very reason. In 2017, things changed. California was hit with torrential storms that led to the state having its wettest winter in almost a century. Located just north of Sacramento, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, lies the Oroville Dam. With a height of 770 feet, it is the tallest dam in the United States. In 2017, the dam experienced a major failure, forcing the evacuation of over 180,000 people who lived downstream of the Feather River. This video may look like a natural waterfall, but it is in fact a man-made disaster. The official report states that because of the rain, the dam operators decided to use the main spillway in hopes of lowering lake levels. Soon after, they noticed something strange in the flow pattern on the main spillway. So the California Department of Water Resources had to close it while they figured out what to do. And it's during this time they realized that the concrete structure of the spillway was severely compromised. During this closure, the rain just kept coming. This left officials with two options: open the main spillway even though it was damaged, or allow the water to rise past the emergency spillway. They thought that by opening the main spillway once again, but at a limited rate, it would be enough to control lake levels. But they were wrong. On February 11, 2017, water overtopped the emergency spillway for the first time since the dam was built. As bad as this looks, it could have been way worse. Erosion threatened to collapse the concrete weir. If that had happened, a 30-foot wall of water would have been sent down Feather River, and the flooding would have been faster and more devastating. By November 1st, 2018, the main spillway repairs had been successfully completed. Humans are not the only ones who like to build dams. Beavers also build dams, not out of concrete, but out of wood and mud. While they don't exactly get as big, they can still be pretty impressive. Back in 2015, a group of beavers constructed a pretty large dam in Cook, Minnesota. One day, for unknown reasons, the dam experienced a major failure, releasing nearly the entire pond that was created by the beavers in the process. Luckily, nobody was caught in the spill. According to the property owner, the dam lasted for around 7 years before this one fateful day.
About, what do you think? What?
Before seeing this video, I didn't exactly know why beavers even build dams in the first place. We build them to generate electricity, store water, and guide rivers. What do they use them for? It turns out, beavers build dams primarily to create a shelter from predators. But it goes further than that. Once their new pond is filled, they construct homes called beaver lodges that can only be accessed by going under the water. The largest beaver dam in the world is in Alberta, Canada, and is 2,790 feet or 850 meters long. Pretty impressive for a species that doesn't even have opposable thumbs. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.